but there's a predicate act. There's predicate acts under the RICO. They're not charges. It's called predicate acts or predicate offenses. All they said is we're not still interested in seeking the liability for those predicate offenses. It's for people who hate Diddy, they're gonna be like, nothing was dropped, which is technically true. And for people who love Diddy, be like, yo, they dropped the charges. That's not technically true as well. But did they drop certain things that they're pursuing? Absolutely, right? Like they said, we're not pursuing the idea or the liability for arson. Remember, RICO, it requires 2 predicate acts. Arson could be one. Let me see what else they dropped. They also dropped the aiding and abetting of sex trafficking. That could be one. Which obviously, if you're aiding and abetting, you're probably guilty of sex trafficking too. But whatever. But as long as the jury believes there's 2 predicate offenses that Diddy is guilty of under the RICO statute, they would have to vote guilty for RICO. Now, granted, the reason why they put there's 35 possible predicate offenses under federal law. The reason they accuse Diddy of 7 or 8. The reason why they put so much is, here's the thing: if they think that you in a criminal enterprise did 7 predicate offenses, they're gonna give you life. Like, you're definitely getting life, right? So they reduced the 8 that they were the 7 or 8 they were accusing Diddy of to now it's narrowed down to 3 or 4. Now the way they put it in the letter, oh no, we're just trying to not confuse the jurors. Okay, that's true too. That's what I'm saying. This is a horrible part about media, because a lot of times, no matter who, it depends on who you tune into, you'll get whatever you get. I seen the fucking flunky over there at the Breakfast Club running today saying, yo, everybody has it wrong. Charges weren't dropped. No, it's the same shit. No, it's not the same shit, right? It's not about necessarily the charges, because there's 2 different things. It's the predicate offenses. So now Diddy has half of the alleged RICO acts that he is going to be having to answer for. So imagine if somebody said you have 8 chances to go to jail, right? They just got to pick 2 of the 8. Now they've narrowed it down to say, oh, you only have 4 chances to go to jail. I think 4 chances sounds better than 8 when they need 2 in all cases. If they need 2 of 8, they have a quarter or 25% chance of convicting you. If they need 2 of 4, they have, okay, I fucked that up. Sorry. If they need 2 of 4, they have to, the probability is less, even though they have to get half of the charges convicted, right? As opposed to, they need half of the charges convicted now, or half of the predicate offenses proven, as opposed to before, they needed a quarter. So the government chance of proving the RICO against Diddy is just significantly less. That's the facts, right? But there's no way to do it, to say that to people who don't follow the case in a perfect headline. So a lot of people ran with the headline saying the charges were dropped. Okay. But the people who are going to report on it fairly, they're going to explain what I'm explaining to you. And then you're going to get the people who hate Diddy, or they're just women who just want all niggas to go to jail. They're going to be like, no, everybody's reporting lies. You know what I mean? I'll go to my man, Bradford Cohen, who he explains this in a minute. Here we go. Here's my guy.
Diddy. Very, very interesting stuff going on, in my opinion, on this case. The government has dropped several of the allegations for the RICO count and things of that nature. The arson, which they had 0 proof of. I can't even believe they allowed testimony on the arson. Absolutely no proof.
Bingo. So you got to imagine, they charged a guy with a RICO. Remember, they already charged him with sex trafficking and of 2 people, Jane Doe, Daphne Joy, and Cassie. They gave him a RICO. They gave him a RICO, no co-conspirators. They gave him a RICO. The person you claim was helping him, she's not charged. She's nowhere to be found. Christina Karam. What the fuck? How did you give this nigga a RICO for that? Secondly, you gave him a RICO claiming he blew up cars. Bro, don't you think these are the reasons Diddy never got bail? Again, I'm not preaching for Diddy, but I'm just preaching towards the facts of the case. Okay? I hope y'all could kind of realize, I could tell sometimes when, yo, these bitches be lying type shit, which I think some of this is these bitches be lying, but Diddy used to be beating bitches too. So it's a lot going on here. I'm trying to call it fair. The point is this. They didn't need to hit him with a RICO. But they gave him the RICO, and that's probably one of the main reasons he never got bail. He blew up cars. He's bribing witnesses. He's kidnapping people. These are all the things they're now saying, we don't really care about him blowing up cars no more because we don't even think we've proved that. What? Do you get what I'm saying? So the idea that everybody's like, no, nothing changed. No, something definitely changed. Right? Like the government basically admitted that half of their RICO case was bullshit. Oh, he had his bodyguards bring a chick to a warehouse and she was kidnapped. She had to answer questions under lie detector. We don't care about that anymore. Huh? Y'all don't care about it no more? Y'all quizzed her about it. Oh, Cassie got beat up so bad. Her face was swollen. He put her in the London hotel. That was kidnapping because she couldn't leave. Cassie testified to that too. But they, at the end, when they're going to the jury, they're like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Nigga, what? What do you mean don't worry about it? So it's like the government is admitting some of the shit they don't feel like they fully proved. Anyway.
Proof of the arson and the 911 that was burnt down to the ground or whatever was happened to that car, and the kidnapping. Again, the lack of evidence, the lack of proof, the lack of organization that they actually put these things into an indictment, use that indictment to keep him and hold him, make these allegations so that he shouldn't have bond, make all these allegations so he shouldn't have bond. This should have been a case where he should have been granted bond. He was ready to self-surrender. It was kind of a joke on that side of it. And we're going to see how this all shakes out, see what the jury does. They dismissed one of the jurors because they thought that he wasn't being truthful for where he lived. I thought that was an overkill. I thought they should have kept him on the jury, especially because he was African American, and I think that's what the prosecution wanted to do, is get rid of him. But we're going to see where this all shakes out. I don't think this is a clean sweep. I think the RICO case is a stretch. The sex trafficking, I think they could walk him on if they really thought about it. I think he's a John that has a violence problem. I think he needs anger management. He's not a good guy. And this is going to be the closing. He's not a good guy, but is it the things that he was doing criminal, or were these things that individuals wanted to do on their own volition, get paid $10,000 to show up and have sex with Cassie?
Again, I'm going with, I think Diddy doesn't walk clean sweep. I think he get convicted of 2 of 5 charges. The prostitution charges. I don't think he gets convicted of sex trafficking. And if I'm wrong, it's 3, and he's gonna be fucked if I'm wrong. I think at max it won't be a clean sweep. At max it's gonna be 3 of 5, and I think it'll be sex trafficking only of Cassie. Daphne Joy is a hoe. Like, come on, respectfully. Like, come on, bruv. Like, she was fucking for the cash. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, I think everybody looked at Daphne Joy shit to be like, yo, you're tweaking. You just wanted you said you signed a love contract to fuck niggas. Like, what are you talking about? How did you get sex trafficked? This idea that, oh no, I was so used to luxury that I had to fuck these people. And I seen somebody in the chat, it's in the Academy chat. And by the way, if I respond to somebody in the chat, even if they said something negative, don't ban them or nothing like that, please. We're doing conversation here. They said, no, you kind of been like a pro Diddy guy. Nah, I'm not a pro Diddy guy. Like, I'm a pro facts guy. The idea that these women, for me, are enjoying all this lifestyle, right? Yes, they're of course getting beaten up. I'm not saying none of these things are cool. But I'm gonna be honest with you, when I heard these charges, I expected more things that would coincide more like with even R. Kelly. Like, and I get it. R. Kelly had minors that was involved in his federal case, as opposed to he had 2 federal cases, one in Chicago, one in the Eastern District of New York. But the thing here is that I'm seeing a lot of, and I'm just being honest, right? And you're going to hear some of my opinions come out now, even though I'm trying to stay neutral all the time when I'm reading stuff. Brother, when it comes to Diddy and his situations, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm getting a lot of buyer's remorse. I'm getting a lot of, hey, I wasted 10 years of my life with you. You never gave me a baby. You never put a ring on my finger. You had other girls. I was down to ignore that. I was down to fuck other guys for you. I was down to suck dicks in front of you. I was doing things to make you happy. Whatever you're into, I wanted to do because I thought I was going to be your bitch for life. And when I realized that I was never going to be that person in your life, I eventually had to move on. It hurt. And of course, I lose out on everything. And now I feel like I'm kind of scorned. I wasted my 20s with you. I gave you the best parts of my life, and you gave me nothing. Like, yes, you gave me gifts in the moment, but overall, all I have is a bunch of memories that are kind of up and down, but it's kind of more sour grapes than not because I didn't end up with you, right? So all the beatings, they're now more pronounced, right? All the times that you did me wrong, quote unquote, it's more pronounced because I felt that I got fucked over. That's what I'm getting. I'm like this victim of sex trafficking that all through and out was straight up sex trafficking. I'm getting, hey, I was trying to make you happy, trying to be your girl, your queen, your whatever. I understand you're a little weird. You're bisexual or whatever. You like to watch other dudes fuck me. Pause. So I'm going to do this, right? I'm not getting straight up sex trafficking. That's just me. Yo, somebody keep commenting about the LA hat with the Orlando jersey. Nigga, it matched today. Just let me live. You get what I'm saying? So, bro, that's all I'm seeing. And again, y'all could tell me, yo, Act, no, you're being biased. And the reason why I'm calling it that way is because I know a scoring bitch, bro. I know a scoring chick. Bro, like, you had plans of kids and family and being this queen in this guy's life. The guy's a playboy. Like, you thought he was going to grow out of it. Oh, I only did this, but I thought he would want to stop. What nigga ever wants to stop doing some freaky shit? I keep saying women never go down in lifestyle and men never go down in sexuality. The first time Diddy had y'all doing freak offs, he was never going to be like, I'm over it now. No, he was just going to have you doing more. Sometimes these girls are getting with the nigga thinking, that's what Daphne Joy said. Oh, I thought it was like a one-time thing. You thought wrong. The nigga loves to do that. That's his thing. Did you love doing it? Probably not, but you felt it was the way to separate yourself from all the other bitches. Then you only, like, she even admitted it. Shorty admitted it. I started feeling the way because he's treating the other bitches who ain't doing this better than me. They going on trips. Why they on yachts? Why they doing this? Why they in Turks? Why am I not in Turks? I'm fucking these dudes. That's buyer's remorse. That's not saying that you don't want to do it. You're jealous of other women. You're jealous of his other situations. Daphne Joy, I throw out the window. Bullshit. Now, do I think she gives a compelling argument for basically what prostitution is? Yes, I do. I think he gave her a lot of money a lot of times that she took, including a love contract that could be seen as this is a contract for sex. I'm flying you around for sex. Got you. And I think the same with Cassie. But sex trafficking, I'm not believing that. And then this RICO, which is, they threw so many predicate offenses at first. You're like, oh, wow, this guy is like, the guy sound like the Joker. Yo, he burned down the town. He held people against their will. Forced labor. He bribed people. Kidnapped people. You're like, oh my God, this guy's a monster. You get to realize, and what everybody has been saying, and again, I know we're not in the courtroom, so like I'm entitled to also be wrong. Everybody been saying from the beginning, where's the fucking RICO? Where is the racketeering, influence, corrupt organizations? That's what RICO means. That's the act. That is the top line charge that would put him away for life. We went into this thinking, yo, Diddy blows trial and doesn't take a plea, he's going to jail for life. You kidnap people. You blew up cars. You force them to work. You sex traffic people. Bruv, you're going to jail for life. Now we're looking at like, okay, so the RICO is not that strong. And again, so I throw Daphne Joy out of there. Yo, sorry. When it comes to Cassie, I could see the Cassie thing. I could see a jury possibly saying that she was sex trafficked. Would I say she's sex trafficked? And this is where the people that say, if I'm pro Diddy, this is where my thing is. My thing with the Cassie thing is, you love this guy, things didn't work out, you feel salty that you wasted your time, your energy, your life. Like, what do you want? I just don't get where a toxic relationship, and this is what I really believe. If we believe that Cassie, again, you see the Freakazoid shit is always going to jump off the page, so it's going to make it seem like we're agreeing with Freakazoid shit, right? Like, no regular nigga wants another man to fuck his bitch. No regular nigga wants multiple men to fuck his bitch in front of him while he jerks off. No guy wants that, right? However, here's the thing. We all know, and we are in the era. My bad. Whack. I'm gonna hit you back in a little bit. Whack. We all know a lot of people who are in toxic relationships, right? Toxic relationships happens to sometimes be abusive. They verbally abuse each other all the time. They both cheat on each other. Like, it's really like, it's toxic, right? In those situations, we could be like, yo, y'all are both abusers, right? Like, y'all are both probably guilty of maybe some domestic violence, obviously some manipulation, some stalking, all of that shit. But nobody ever, like at this point, we're going to have to think any toxic relationship is sex trafficking. But here's the thing. It's only on the man's part. Because now they introduce this thing when it comes to sex trafficking that it's about the power dynamic. Not that he forced her. It's power and money. That's the coercion. Here's the thing. Name me a chick, name me a bad chick or any chick that dates a dude broker than them. So there's always going to be a dynamic. So basically every toxic relationship between a man and a woman is basically sex trafficking. Why? Because a woman is going to date a guy with usually significant more resources than her, right? She's going to date a richer dude, right? So now you always have the excuse that this woman relies on this guy for A, B, or C, or this guy has a power or money control over her. So the woman's just always the victim. Now they're both in a toxic relationship. They're both cheating, right? She's cheating on Diddy. I think we forgot. Cassie cheated on Diddy with an NBA player, NFL player, Michael B. Jordan. Like, she cheated on a nigga with mad people. Kid Cudi. She fucked mad people, right? Obviously, Diddy was crashing out when he found out she was fucking mad people, including the trainer. But bro, didn't she crash? Didn't she, but wasn't she crashing out when he was fucking other girls too? This is toxic to me. Y'all are both doing what y'all do. Y'all are crashing out. It's toxic. What part of this is like forced sex trafficking? Like, what part? So again, I understand the thing with Cassie, because she was so young when he met her, and when people start thinking about it, like, oh well, maybe I get it that she was obviously for a lot of money, and my idea would be, sure, like, for example, Jane Doe, you're 34, like, you stayed for the 10 bands a month, stop it, like, what the fuck you were doing, right? But for Cassie, be like, well, you kind of got bred into this life. It's almost like what they call it grooming, right? They're like, well, you didn't know any better, so you couldn't really leave. Like, you had Stockholm syndrome. Like, you were getting abused, but like you were just stuck in place and you just had to endure it for 11 years. Maybe a jury actually sees that, right? Jane Doe, throw her out the window. So really, I'm looking at prostitution charges. Diddy definitely paid for prostitutes. He clearly was, right? I see two out of 5. Max 3 out of 5. Now, if he gets 3 out of 5 convicted, he's going away for 15 or 20, because those sex trafficking charges carry 20. The 2, and I've said this before, he's only going to go away for 5 to 10.
She was arranging most of the engagements, even without Diddy there. I actually was able to speak with one of the, I guess, prostitutes in this case, where he called my office to discuss some things. He's got a new book coming out, and I'll follow up with what he had to say, everything that's not attorney-client privilege.
Okay.
All right, let's talk Diddy. Very, very interesting stuff going on.
All right. Okay. So, yeah, So if you want to know what my thoughts are on that, it's like, hey, listen, I'm not like a pro Diddy guy. Like I ain't gonna lie to you. Most of the salacious shit here, I was like, Diddy's pretty disgusting. You know what I mean? Like he's like a little freak gay dude. You know, call him bi, whatever. I'm like, rubbing semen on your nipples, that's gay. But not because I'm not into some of the things he's into means that, you know, he's whatever. Let's see if we can. Okay, so the beginning 9:37 today. Chat. It's time for Somebody said Cassie's a hoe. Well, here's the thing with the sex trafficking thing, right? And this is why if I was a juror, I'm throwing it out for Jane Doe. But if I was a juror, I would probably listen to Cassie's story a little bit more because it tugs at your heartstrings as a person. Especially, she's up there, she's pregnant, she's crying, she's sobbing. Cassie describes that she didn't even know how to suck dick. And Diddy taught her. Like, Diddy basically was, like, coached her how to give head. And you kind of get this idea that I see someone say, no, she's just a hoe. Like, you're not going to come with you got to be some sick, deranged person and say, if you met a girl that didn't even know how to suck dick right, and you coached her how to suck dick, oh, she was just a natural hoe. No. You're going to start feeling like, maybe some of the activities that you were doing influenced her to be sexually perverse as she was. I think that's fair. Now, is it sex trafficking? I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily sex trafficking. But just to say she's like this natural whore that just fucks whatever. Now, of course, over time, I think she just kind of realized the key to keeping her man and key to seeing him more and spending time with him and the key to keep whatever gifts and whatever she liked coming in and the luxuries that she enjoyed in life was, of course, to fuck. And she began wanting to fuck more and more and use it almost like a tool. And I guess that's where also the sex trafficking thing comes in. Like, both of these women at times would offer freak offs. They would say, hey, I'm going to surprise you with this. Daphne Joy said, we're going to have an all-star freak off. You ever heard that, chat? A fucking all-star freak off. Like, this is, yo, we got the skills challenge. We got the rookie game. We got the dunk contest, the three-point contest. Here's the bit. This is crazy. But that's where, you know, as dudes, and if you're wondering where I think about this, I'm kind of looking at this from a man perspective, a man that's not doing anything illegal, and that's the majority of us, but we're men. Are women allowed to have zero accountability when they want? Right? It's like, yes, cool, I'll give it to y'all. She was young. Diddy kind of got her into some freak-a-leak shit. But she clearly was within her own mind and was able to say, you know what, I don't like some of this stuff. I don't want to do this. So here's the thing. How much do we think that she's just fucking retarded and she can't say to Diddy or she can't say to herself, I'm leaving this. I don't like this. This doesn't make me feel good in the day after. It doesn't make me feel good when I got sores on my tongue. It doesn't make me feel good when I have to fuck these guys raw and I catch UTIs and maybe whatever venereal diseases she probably have got. At what point do we say she lacks zero accountability? Because Diddy is just like, he's controlling her mind. Like she's just completely brainwashed. And I only believe that happens with women. I don't think if a man said the majority of these things, we would even bat an eye at it. Nigga, what? We were reading the Tyler Perry shit. We're like, wait, so a nigga you woke up and a nigga was spooning you with a hard dick and you did nothing? Really, nigga? Really? But when it comes to women, we do, and again, I understand, you know, men and women are different. But where does accountability stand? Accountability is, you know, it's one thing if it's like, okay, when I'm thinking about some force or coercion, I'm like, all right, you know, and yes, by the way, I do give, I concede certain shit. Yo, he was threatening her. Like, yo, if you leave, like, I'm going to leak some tapes. I'm going to do this. Give me my money back, whatever. But are we saying Cassie was just completely helpless? Like, just powerless? Just could not walk away? I thought that one message that when her friend was trying to convince her to leave Diddy, and she literally said, well, if I leave him, who am I going to date? Jay-Z already got a woman. At that point, you're only thinking that your match is a mogul. Is that not choice in itself? Is that not choice? Like, you're making a choice to stay because you refuse to date anybody that's not on his level or above. And you're looking around and say the only other guy who I could date within this shit would be Jay-Z, and he already got a woman. So it's like you've processed these thoughts of leaving, and why you didn't leave wasn't solely because you were getting your ass whipped or he was going to leak videos. You were just like, well, who am I going to be with other than him? So that feels like choice. I don't know. It feels like choice. Whatever. All right. I'm done rant. Let's get back to reading tweets. So they begin. It said, good morning. We've emailed the charges to the parties. It's not in the doc yet. So they've finalized this entire charging sheet where the jury is going to like look at it and vote. Okay. So there's still some government. Sometimes government is capitalized. We were going to change that, and there's an instruction about a witness. Right. There should be no disruptions during closing. The judge says all the jurors. All tell the jurors that I'll tell the jurors it will be a shorter day today and a longer day tomorrow. Then there will be deliberations will be up to them. Slavic will be here at 10 to deliver the closing. Shapiro says there's some italics we want out. So again, Shapiro doing her job as a she's the defense appellate lawyer, but what happens usually with appellate lawyers is that they get a case after they couldn't do anything about it. So they'll read through the case, the transcript, be like, damn, it would have helped me if you had objected here or blah, 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 blah there. So they have her in there to raise all of these issues before we even get to a verdict. God forbid for Diddy, he's guilty. They at least have 3,000 reasons they could possibly get an appeal. Okay. So they break till 10. The jury is going to come in at 10, and they're going to do the closing at 10. So now it's 10:02. So do we have a laptop ready? So I defer to Ms. Garagos. Says we'll have it ready for tomorrow. The judge says, okay, with only admitted exhibits then. Relax tomorrow. So let's get our jury. The jurors enter and they say, the judge says, give your attention to the parties' closing arguments. Today will be shorter. It's the U.S. closings. Tomorrow, the defense and the rebuttal and my instructions, and then you're going to begin deliberations, okay? The jurors who will stay. Slavic says over the last few weeks, so this is now closing, okay, people? Over the last few weeks, you've learned that Sean Combs is a leader of a criminal organization. He doesn't take no for an answer. He's into kidnapping, arson, forced labor, bribery of a security officer, and the brutal crimes of sex trafficking. I want y'all to consider two moments. March 2016 at the Intercontinental Hotel, the defendant got violent with Cassie. You saw what happened. He dragged her back to the freak-off. 2024 at Jane's house, the defendant choked and even hit her. She ran, but she couldn't get away. There are chapters in the same book. The defendant counted on silence and shame. He thought that his fame and wealth and power could put him above the law. Over the 7 weeks, you've heard how he used his staff to promote his power. No one could stop him. We talked about RICO, including sex trafficking and transportation for prostitution, which are also separately charged and stand-alone crimes. You've heard of racketeers. When someone commits a crime as part of a group, they're more dangerous. A group of people whose purpose was to serve and protect the defendant is his kingdom. Everyone was there to serve him, fulfilling all his desires, including his sexual desires as well. We need to show at least 2 racketeering crimes, those are the predicate offenses, for him to be guilty. The defendant was the head of Combs Enterprise. There was an inner circle, his chief of staff, his bodyguards. The names are changed, but the roles remain the same. You've heard about KK, Combs' right hand, his right brain. She lived in Two-Star Island. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. So KK lived with Diddy. Oh, shit. She communicated with the defendant girlfriends. His security, you heard the names D-Rock, Bonds, Rube, Uncle Paulie, Fa or Fahim. They were armed and ready. Remember the incident at the diner with Suge Knight. David James told you Suge had guns. By the way, I definitely think Diddy's, they better address this on their closing arguments. Why are you making it seem like Diddy had an army when he didn't y'all haven't mentioned that he killed no one, shot no one, and no one beat up no one on his behalf. Only people who were hurt were girlfriends that Diddy beat up. So why are y'all saying, oh, they were armed, they had guns? What the fuck? Anyway. In the search, law enforcement found guns, including a rifle with a serial number defaced in L.A. 2 AR-15s with the serial numbers cut out in the defendant's closet. You have the rotating cast of assistants paid by the defendant's business. Brendan Paul said he made $100,000 a year. KK made 6 times that. Wow. KK was making $600,000? Holy. This is why I love closings. They give you all the juicy shit. When your boss asks you to buy drugs, you're committing a crime. But when you kidnap someone or locked his girlfriend in a hotel room after your boss stomped on his face, it's a crime as well. The law doesn't require you to know that they liked committing these crimes. You saw KK hiding the defendant to not be so reckless, but she got him cash. She got him drugs. She was a member of the enterprise. It impacted interstate commerce. Minimal is fine, but Combs knowingly became a member, okay? He was the boss, El Chapo. He was the through line. The racketeering acts, distribution of drugs, kidnapping, arson, bribery, facilitating the sex trafficking of Cassie and Jane, forced labor, traveling for commercial sex and a cover-up. Yeah. Those are, by the way, those are all the predicate acts, right? Remember, they said they weren't seeking kidnapping, arson, and facilitating sex trafficking anymore. But, it says you only need to find that someone would commit 2 of these acts in any of these categories. It could be 2 acts of drug distribution, 1 kidnapping. Maybe it could be 2 kidnappings. You have far more than 2. Let's start with the drugs, an essential ingredient of the freak-offs. Chat, ingredient of the freak-offs is crazy. Okay, like, yo, what type of, it's like they got recipes to the fucking freak-offs, right? Anyway, the most involved were D-Rock, KK, and Fahim, but others helped keep the drug supply high. We're not talking about marijuana. We're talking about what Brendan Paul called hard drugs. The stipulations of the drugs were found in the searches. Cocaine, meth, oxy, ketamine, a dissociative drug, a GHB, mushrooms, Molly, Tusi. A combination dyed pink. It's 1305 and 1306 in the exhibit. These quantities, doesn't matter, okay? It's not an element of the crime. Distribution doesn't require a sale. Ooh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Distribution doesn't require a sale. Basically saying, as long as it was enough for Diddy to hand out to people, that's drug distribution. You know the names of drugs. You know the names of the drugs by now. Guido, One Stop, or the drug dealers by now. Guido, One Stop, Baby Girl. Jane told you that on 2 occasions she was told to bring drugs when she flew to meet him. She coordinated with KK. It's corroborated by text messages. KK told Jane to swing by the Mapleton and pick up Guido package. He was called during hotel nights, so we know what Guido's package was. More ecstasy. The security team knew what it was. Guido texted Fahim. Puff has a $450 balance with me. Brendan Paul asked for $780 for a personal Gucci items. That's hard drugs. Drugs were distributed. It doesn't matter if he wasn't buying kilos of coke or selling them. Personal use is just a distraction. They bought and distributed to people around him. Cassie used drugs at every freak-off. Who was it supplied by? Diddy. He introduced Jane Doe, Daphne Joy, to drugs. He put her on drugs. He gave them to her. He gave them to her at all but one hotel night. He gave drugs to Kerry, to Banna. He made Brandon Paul try the Tusi to see if it was good. D-Rock would text One Stop, the drug dealer, and say, yo, I need to see someone for bro. Bro is the defendant, Diddy. Guido asked Fahim to cover the defendant's drug debt. KK knew he was distributing drugs to the woman for the Wild King nights. Come on now. Jane told KK she was having a bad come down. KK give pro tips. This bitch was giving pro tips on how to deal with it. Plain and simple, this is goddamn drug distribution. How about kidnappings? They committed them under both California and New York law. Come on, consider Cassie. Roger Bond, made her stay put. The defendant called Cassie a slut. He stomped on her face. She was disfigured. Roger Bond called her and brought her back. The defendant made her go to the London hotel on Sunset. No one saw her. She wanted to go home to her mom, but no, she couldn't. It's clear Cassie didn't consent to staying in the London hotel. David James testified that the defendant demanded to see his search history. If he had posted that the defendant assaulted Cassie in the club, then there's Capricorn Clark. They made her take a lie detector test for days in an empty office building in Manhattan. This was in 2004, people. She was holding expensive jewelry that went missing. Uncle Paulie took her to the future headquarters of Bad Boy. She was tested for 5 lies. Hold on, Charlie. I got to tweet this out. This is good shit. I got to tweet out this live. My bad. Here we go. This is some good shit. Hold on. By the way, this is the closing. Okay, all right, good. All right. The man administering a test told her if she fails, she'll end up in the East River. In Central Park, the defendant told her if anything had happened, he'd have to kill her. David James remembers this. He was tested too, to get the rat out of the team. In December 2011, Rube helped the defendant kidnap Capricorn Clark. It started on December 22nd, 2011. The defendant banged on Capricorn's Clark with a gun. He was out for revenge. He barked an order at Capricorn. Get dressed. We're gonna go kill Kid Cudi. Wow. Hold on, let me get some. They drove to Kid Cudi's house. The defendant had a gun in his lap. This is kidnapping. He moved her to a substantial distance without her consent. The defendant said he wouldn't let her told until she brought him Cassie, who he kicked when she arrived in the fetal position. Cassie, who was with Kid Cudi that morning, testified to this. The officer who responded to the 911 call said he saw a black Escalade registered to Bad Boy. Then on January 12, 2012, the defendant had Kid Cudi car set on fire. Now, by the way, which is arson. You'll chat. Here's the thing. In a closing argument, they could editorialize. They could give their story of what they believe they proved, even though they actually give up on these points, but they're still in their narrative, right? Someone cut a hole in the roof of Kid Cudi's car and dropped a Molotov cocktail in it. We're not suggesting the defendant cut the hole. He didn't even buy his own soup. Well, you heard the voice notes. He said he was going to blow up Kid Cudi's car. What are the odds? He says it, then it happens. The coincidences just keep coming, right? The defendant and Rube just happened to be there a few weeks before. Kid Cudi was driving the same Porsche the night of the trespass. What's the motherfucking odds? Kid Cudi had conflicts with no one else but the defendant, right? Then D-Rock brought Kid Cudi to the defendant, who was looking like a Marvel superhero. Years later, the defendant apologizes to Kid Cudi. Then there's bribery. 2016 video. The defendant was having a free call for Cassie. One of the escorts, Jules. Flores found the defendant sitting in a chair with what he called a devilish stare. In the room, he saw another man. The defendant tried to hand Flores a stack of money. It was his first attempt at a bribe that day. As Cassie left, Combs started damage control. Judge says, we have a power issue. Is your mic working? So it looked like there's something going on in court. Say, hello? Can we hear him? Okay, we can hear it. Yes, he called Cassie over a dozen times. Then he texts, call me, the cops are here. He was manipulating her. But the defendant knew he could be arrested. There was video of the assault. He went on and banged on Cassie's door with a hammer. The neighbors were going to call the police. They did, in fact, go. Kerry Morgan had an LAPD card because she did report it. KK suggests that they had a fun drunk night. She calls and reaches out to Eddie Garcia. Eddie says no. KK shows up in person. He won't show her, but says off the record it's bad. KK says the defendant needs to call Eddie on his personal cell phone. Once Eddie says his boss will do it for $50,000, the defendant calls him Eddie my angel. That's how he saved in his phone. Eddie goes to deliver the USB. D-Rock and KK are there. The defendant counted out dollar by dollar the bribe. Eddie told Eddie told you the security guard told him he came up with the defendant. That was D-Rock. Eddie asked the defendant, what if Cassie calls the police? So the defendant knew if Eddie finds the ID off the stand-in for Flores, NDAs are signed, don't speak to anyone. For those who are asking, so this is a sidebar. Well, Matthew Russell sidebar. Sean Combs has his chair pushed all the way back from the defense table, and he's looking around. So I guess Diddy's observing the courtroom like he's trying to see facial expressions. That's what I'd be thinking. Slavic says, paying for silence is influence in testimony. In their opening, the defense suggested it was all about bad publicity. Police involvement wouldn't hurt him. It said police involvement would hurt him. These two are connected. The next racketeering predicate is sex trafficking. The defendant inner circle assisted whether they wanted to or not. Threats, drugs, lies, and illegal violence to make them have sex with escorts. This is not an attempt to criminalize dysfunctional relationships. By the way, that's what I'm saying. Is this an attempt to criminalize toxic relationships, right? Let's hear their explanation. Or personal sexual behavior, freak-offs. They did not want to have sex with strangers while the defendant masturbated. They were covered in oil and sore over and over and over again. We're not asking you to find that every hotel night or freak off was sex trafficking or even the majority. You only need to find the elements were met one time, one freak off. That's it. He's motherfucking guilty. But it was way more than once. Let's start with Jane. Yeah, turn the screens off. Diddy's still in his chair. Pushed back from the defense table at which Xavier Donaldson and Shapiro have their chins in their hands. So they're like, Slavic says, consider this sobriety part. In Jane's house. Let's start with the love bombing stage. Jane was head over heels. They traveled to the Caribbean. Dr. Hughes talked about this. She never met with any of the witnesses. But it was like she knew them. Love bombing is a tactic. He was grooming her. He gave Jane ecstasy. She fell to the ground because she was convulsing. The defendant liked baby oil and red lights. Then introduced in May 2021. She wanted to please her partner. She was high. The defendant had a freak off set up that very night and an escort came. Jane was excited by that first experience. She didn't realize she had opened Pandora's box. It became 90% of their relationship. For a while, she went along. Then she told him she wanted to stop. There are texts about this. Here are the texts. Jane wrote, I wanted to do things outside these rooms to travel with you. The defendant ignores Jane's discomfort. Those hotel nights were not about what Jane wanted. They were about what the defendant wanted to see. He decided how long. Jane said if she was going to have sex with strange men, she should choose who. The defendant made her ask them for nude photos. Those weren't for her. When she asked to use condoms, the defendant was not happy. He was dismissive, condescending. She would try to have it go by faster. He would order her, slow it down. It was about what he wanted. He dangled carrots. He gave gifts and money. He lied to her repeatedly. She asked, when are we going to do a getaway? He said, we're going to go on a yacht. But they didn't. Here's what Jane wrote in her notes app. I don't want to have you use me to fulfill your freaky, wild desires in hotel rooms. He used payment of her rent as leverage. The carrot turned into a stick. Pause. She wrote, the threats and innuendo are nonstop. He paid for her veneers because she didn't like her teeth. Then said, look at the roof over your head. You don't like that? And your pretty mouth, your teeth. I did that. He wanted a all-star freak-off party. Sex with 3 men. She sent him photo of her period blood just to get out of that freak-off. He sent this one voice note. They're playing the voice note. So I'm about to really disappear on you. I don't got time for that, baby girl. You got me on my job. You got to get on your job. AUSA says, yo, the message couldn't be clearer. He's not going to take no for an answer. After reading Cassie's lawsuit, Jane wrote the defendant and said, I feel like I'm reading my own sexual trauma. 2 of my birthdays, you forced me. You gaslit me. It was sexual exploitation. You framed as love for your sick fetishes. The defendant called her and tried to trick her into saying it was all consented to. He fed her a false narrative. Listen to the clip. He talked over her. Dr. Hughes told you how victim is trauma bonded to her abuser. Jane often felt that the defendant didn't listen to the truth. She said Sean would just say to move on. He told her to charge him, that lawyers would be involved to buy her silence. So she asked for $100,000 a year for her to move on. She thought it was reasonable. It's far less than Cassie. The defendant went ballistics. She refused to adopt his false narrative. You could read the next text message. Jane wrote that the defendant was going to show her sex tapes to the father of her child, 50 Cent. Then he reached out and told her to come see him in Miami. She makes it clear he doesn't want a hotel night. He says okay. Despite this promise, he still called an escort. Here's more threats about the rent. Jane wrote, I hate worrying about rent. This is 2024. It all culminated in June 2024. He assaulted her and forced her to perform fellatio on an escort. This is sex trafficking, people. It was interstate, and the Astro Glide kept going across state lines. The defendant knew or recklessly disregarded the force, the threats of force, the coercion, and the fraud that were used. Consented once does not mean she consented every time. One time is enough. He lied. Look, he's texting Paul Author, an escort. Look at these messages. Look, check it out. He's setting up a hotel night when she's in the air. He told her no hotel nights, right? He tells her he has a surprise for her, but she did not want to do anything with sex work. That, before the plane even lands, is a completed act of sex trafficking. He tricked her. Then under coercion, she calls Cabral to come to New York. In the next text, she says, in New York City, I knew you would pair me up with a random person. In the sobriety party, without drugs, she's so disgusted, she vomits. She writes, I'm not a porn star. I'm not an animal. I need a fucking break. The defendant writes, let's spend the day together, no strangers. She replies, you're just going to love bomb me. He switches from carrot to the stick, then to the house. He texts, are you going to let me into our house? 8 times. Then he said he was sick and he needed her. She went and had sex with 3 different men without drugs. After vomit, he said, get back out there. 2024 in Jane's house, 3 months after Homeland Security searched the defendant's home, they used Jane's house again. He came there. They were supposed to have a fun date night. They drank. They argued. She pushed his head in the counter. He shouted at her. She told him to leave. She ran and closed the doors. He kicked down not 1, not 2, but 3 doors. You saw the doors. Here's one of them. Check it out. She ran without shoes. She hid. He was waiting. She hit the defendant. He punched her in the face. Here are the photos. He dragged her by the hair back into the house. Jane took his phone and called the other woman. She shouted. The defendant called Jonathan Perez. He followed her into the shower, hit her, knocked her down. He made called Anton, the escort, and told her to have sex with him. She put on makeup to hide her injuries. She drove to pick up Anton from the gate. Then the defendant said, take this fucking pill. He put his face inches from her and asked, is this coercion, bitch? He was brazenly acknowledging he was breaking the very same law he violated before. Jane did not want to have sex with the escort that night. She said no. But this monster wouldn't take no for an answer. Jane performed oral sex until Anton nutted in her mouth. The defendant told the security to bring the cash to Anton. They didn't have it. The next day, he gave Jane the money to pay Anton. She Ubered a bag of money over to him. That's not coercion. The judge said, Ms. Slavic, I think this would be an appropriate time for break for lunch. So it'd be a perfect time. Said, jurors, you may go eat. Holy. Ruger Red, thank you for the gifted memberships. Let me play. Ooh. Getting lit, chat. Let me play Lauren Conley real quick. And I'm going to eat up my little Chick-fil-A, bro. Oh, shit.
U.S. versus Sean Combs.
Wait. Yeah, this is it.
Day 30. We are on closing arguments. Now, this video is not going to be super detailed because we have to get back in the courtroom right on time. I mean, no one's even allowed to go to the bathroom during closing arguments, so I just want to make sure I'm not late so I get back in. But I'll give you just a couple details so far. It's been a pretty busy day. You know, in the gallery, there's some notable attorneys. Karen Agnifilo is there. She represents Luigi Mangione. She's married to Mark. Doug Wigder is there, who represents Cassie Ventura. And Diddy's daughters are back. They're very sweet looking. I saw one of them in the bathroom and I didn't lock the door to the bathroom stall and she opened it. I felt really bad for her. I wasn't peeing, I was just adjusting myself, but yeah, she was really sweet. And Misa Hilton is here, who I believe is Justin's mother, and I think another one of his children's mother is here as well, possibly Sarah Chapman. But yeah.
Oh wow, all Diddy's baby moms are popping out. It is make or break time, chat.
Yes. So the judge greeted the jury, thanked them, for listening to 7 weeks of testimony, and just said, yes, so we'll.
Oh, thank you. Who said this? Yo, great job reading those tweets, man. You've been amazing through all this. Keeping us tuned in. Thank you for that. Yeah, I try to read it with a little bit of charisma for y'all,
Have a shorter day today. The government's going to give their closing arguments, and then tomorrow the defense is going to go, and then the government will present a very short rebuttal after that, and then they'll get their jury charges, which, by the way, I had stated it's 118 pages of charges, so or roughly, and they both the government and the defense had 200 objections that they had to go through during the charge conference yesterday, which took a long time. But okay, so really quickly, just a couple things, and I'm gonna go over the entire closing in detail later, so don't worry. But the first thing that Slavic said was, okay, over the last several weeks, you have learned a lot about Sean Combs. He is the leader of a criminal enterprise who doesn't take no for an answer.
All right, give me a second.
All right, welcome back to our continued coverage of the Sean Combs criminal case in New York. I'm Jesse Weber. Thanks for joining it. The question is, jury does not or does have N. Kesey, Smith and Jesse. You're both great. Jesse's handsome. Elizabeth's gorgeous.
It was a full house today inside that courtroom, literally.
Okay. I'm going to heat up my food real quick.
Body to body, a lot of people inside that courtroom, and especially over on the defense's side, where you're seeing more of Diddy's support system and family come to court today to really kind of be here for the final days of the trial, pretty much. Of course, that being summations, aka closing arguments. So we saw everyone from Janice Combs, Diddy's mother, Charlucci, who's one of Diddy's very close friends, who's been inside that courtroom every single day of trial and even was attending some of those pre-trial hearings too. We saw Keisha Combs, that's Sean Combs' sister, Justin Combs, Sean Combs' son. Quincy was there. Again, that's also Sean Combs' son. Misa Hilton, who is the mother of Justin Combs, was there. Sarah Chapman, who is Diddy's daughter, Chance's mother. And then, of course, the twins were there, that being Delilah Combs and Jesse Combs. And so it's interesting. The only one that notably was absent from what I could see inside the main courtroom was just Christian Combs. But everybody else, and I should also say probably his youngest daughter, that being Love, she wasn't there inside the courtroom. But I think notably also some interesting faces that are inside that courtroom today, too. Maybe not necessarily on Sean Combs' side was Doug Wigder, who we all know to be Cassandra Ventura Fine's attorney. attorney, as well as Jay Clayton, and that's the acting U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. So a lot of famous faces are inside that courtroom, a lot of people that we're very familiar with as we've been following this case pretty closely. Oh, and I think I forgot Karen Agnifalo's inside that courtroom too. So it's a lot of people there really trying to see what these summations are going to be, both on the prosecution side and then once we get to the defense's closing tomorrow, obviously for the defense's side too.
Since there are no cameras in that federal courtroom, there's no audio equipment in that courtroom, Elizabeth has been our eyes and our ears for the last several weeks. So we have this question from Merlene Spies. What is Diddy's reaction today? Does he look worried?
Yeah, so I was trying to get some peeks in between all the heads of the attorneys that were literally right in front of me inside the courtroom today. Because normally that row right in front of us in terms of the press is normally empty. But today, again, everybody's inside that courtroom. So when I was getting peeks and glimpses over at the defense's table, I was trying to see what Sean Combs' demeanor was during these closing arguments, especially as they were talking about RICO, especially as they were talking about sex trafficking, both alleged victim 1, that being Cassie, and alleged victim 2, that being Jane. And so from what I could see, especially at the start of the trial, or excuse me, at the start of closing arguments today, I really kind of saw Sean Combs really just kind of stare a little bit into the distance from what I could see. He was kind of looking toward where the judge is on the bench, and obviously there's no witness over there. So really the prosecutor, that being Christy Slavic, was giving her summations over kind of towards the side right in front of the jury box with a microphone and a stand kind of like the one that I have my notes on right now. And so I saw him kind of looking a little past her, again, kind of towards the judge's direction. Then I would look over, I'd see him kind of like getting glimpses over at Christy Slavic doing the summations and possibly at the jury too. And then I saw him, doing what he usually does too while he's at the defense table, which is jotting notes down, passing them off to Mark Agnifalo. So really we got all these different kinds of movements from him. But in terms of just demeanor, I think he was just especially happy to have his family inside that courtroom, making sure everybody who was on the list was able to get inside in order to support him. And so from that was probably the most reaction I've seen of him, is just a big smile on his face whenever he saw his family.
Elizabeth, we're reading the transcript of the closing arguments. We have no idea what the tone is like. We have no idea how Christy Slavic is actually delivering it. So we have a couple of questions here. Jack asks, Elizabeth, how would you describe the overall tone of Christy Slavic's closing argument? Was it emotional, methodical, aggressive? John Doe III asks, what seemed to be the prosecution's most powerful moment in closing arguments so far?
Yeah, well, it seems like it's very methodical. And, I know that this is a very high-profile trial. Obviously, it's a very high-profile defendant, that being Sean Combs. And so maybe people might think that they're expecting these very animated moments during the summations done by the government. But it seems like it's just really kind of very monotone, very concise, I should say. But I will say this, Jesse, is that Christy Slavic, when she's giving these closing arguments, she really is just laying it out as simple as possible, to the point I'm actually understanding everything that's going on. And I'm like, okay, this is really just kind of laid out perfectly for the jury. Now, could points have been kind of condensed a little bit and not as repetitive? Possibly, maybe. But in terms of just the tone in her demeanor while giving these closing argument, it is very kind of similar to how the government's opening statement was. It was just very monotone. You can tell she's kind of reading off of the script that she had prepared. But I think it's interesting, too, because they put, a PowerPoint presentation of just everything in terms of just all the assistants that the jury was able to see, all the escorts/entertainers that the jury was able to see. They were kind of bringing points from the transcript and relating it to certain points of maybe, in some cases, the RICO conspiracy and arson and kidnapping, relating it to the testimony that was given by particular witnesses, including, Kid Cudi or Capricorn Clark, those types of folks, and then bringing it back to the text messages where they're highlighting how these certain text messages will really kind of point to instances of alleged sex trafficking in terms of Jane or in terms of Cassie. And so that's really kind of the tone.
What's also interesting? Maureen Comey didn't do the closing. I think she did the opening. I could be wrong though, but she didn't do the closing.
In terms of the closing arguments that they have, and from what I could see even of the jury, especially at the beginning, they were really kind of paying close attention. I think maybe towards the lunchtime hour, they were ready for lunch because it's a long time to be listening to just one person. But, if I can binge watch a Netflix series for 8 hours, I think the jurors are okay with the 4-hour summation.
Well, that is why the defense wanted Mark Agnifalo to go on Friday. They didn't want him to have to go after the jury's exhausted from prosecution's closing argument and having lunch, oh, now we got to hear the defense, it affects the impact of that. So I completely understand it. Elizabeth, I know you have to get back into court. Great seeing you. Thank you so much. Great reporting. We even have Outcast 93 saying, Elizabeth, you've been doing a fantastic job since the beginning of this trial. You really have. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to continue the conversation now with.
And then she went on to say the brutal crimes at the heart of this case is sex trafficking. And then we saw a still of Cassie. And the still of Cassie was obviously the Intercontinental Hotel video. And it was like they paused it or freeze framed it right on a part where Diddy was dragging her on the ground by her hood or her hair.
Let's see what Unc was talking about, because I know Unc went live too.
Down here, presenting testimony that is untrue, right? That has already been shattered, right? Now, right now, they got 3 overflows. But to somebody like me,
That's a McLaren. That's a McLaren
to
jacket.
somebody that's been here every day for 6 weeks, I'm not impressed. And neither is the jury. The jury gotta be looking at her like, yo, we already heard this, man. Hurry up. Get out of the way. Now, to all the new people that are here for the first time, you know, they are impacted by what they're hearing because they're here for the first time. But this closing argument by Christy Slavic, in my opinion, is a fail. Puffy is constantly writing notes, passing them to Mark Agnifilo. Mark Agnifilo is, come on by, baby. Mark Agnifilo, did they go on break? They on break? Mark Agnifilo is constantly writing notes. Tenny Garagos and Mark Puffy is writing notes, passing something to Mark Agnifilo. He listening. Puff just got his head down like this. And then when the assistant U.S. attorney says something that's been proven a lie, Puff will do this like. But he's engaged. He's passing notes to Agnifilo. But it's just, oh man. You know, I at least see presentation is everything.
Yeah, I just come from
At least I thought that the assistant U.S. attorney would be demonstrative with her hands, with the eye contact, body language. Didn't I tell you? Didn't we say? Yes, Puffy did this. Yes, Puffy did that. You know, because when you're demonstrative, people look at that, right? You influence. You can influence people. This girl is up there like this. The bird flew and landed on the fence. When the bird landed on the fence, it went down and ate a worm. Remember, let me show you text message. No, don't read to me, man. Don't read to me, man. Yo, trash. Now, what's interesting, and why Puffy is in bad shape is because there's probably 150 people to 200 people in all 4 courtrooms. And we're all hearing the same thing. But you come out of the courtroom and you talk to somebody that's in the courtroom with you, And they will tell you that the prosecution is doing a great job. And it's bad for Puffy. What's crazy is that out of the 12 jurors, I think that they're seeing this the way that I'm seeing it, but that very well may not be the case. They may be seeing it a whole nother way. And that's crazy, man. This man's life is in the hands of 12 people that can't understand the magnitude of his lifestyle, the magnitude of his money. The assistant U.S. attorney, all she talks about is his abuse of power. He was a wealthy man, he abused his power. Because she can't understand that kind of money. I can't understand that kind of money. You can't understand that kind of money. You know, the enterprise. Puffy is the boss of an enterprise. And KK and D-Rock and all these people, like they knowingly knew they were setting up a racketeering enterprise, man. Crazy. Crazy.
Take your time, take your time.
As far as I'm concerned, Gerard unit, Magnifilo is something with a little more punch, a little more flavor. This girl, there's no flavor. There's no punch. There's no nothing. And you're trying to get the jury to reconsider lies and perjury. You're trying to get the jury to reconsider testimony we heard where Cassie and Jane Doe were complicit, willing. We heard it. We heard it. It's crazy, man. Crazy, man. I think that's Puffy and them family right there. That's the whole family. All the family members are here. Yeah, they all getting on there now.
I wonder if
The daughters are here.
Okay.
Mother's here. They're all here. I see them all the time. I always wish them well. Nothing, man. Nothing. 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 The prosecution's closing arguments is a trash can. It's dumpster. The Dipsy dumpster. Unbelievable. I got so turned off when I saw her reading. I had my notebook out. I had my pen out. Come on through. You coming through? Come on through. Come on through. I had my notebook out. I had my pen out. And when the first thing she said, the first things out her mouth, the Assistant U.S. Attorney, Christy Slavitt, she said, she put a picture of Puffy up on the screen, and she said, Puffy is a criminal, and he runs a criminal enterprise. I put my notebook down. I put my notebook down, and then she began to read to me off of, which means, I don't know. Maybe this is how they do it. But with the notes that I took, check me out. Check me out.
Oh, lit.
Check me out. Check me out. With the notes. Check me out. check me out. Huh? With the notes. With the notes that I took. I could go in that courtroom right now and off the top of my dome. Why you kick my bottle of water? Huh? Don't kick my bottle of water. I could go.
Tell
hold on, let me get my. That lady came by and kicked my bottle of water. Hold up. I know this case. I know this case cold. I know this case.
Now, I'm going to disagree with Unc there. I think even Diddy's defense team is going to use notes. You want to be concise. The jury has spent 7 weeks. They don't want you ranting and repeating yourself, and you want to hit every point. It's your last chance to give a very concise, even though I know it's granted these things are going for hours, like these closing arguments, but it's to give a concise summary of the entire case.
It's cold. All 6 weeks of the information that I've been in there, I got it in my dome. You can wake me up at 3:19 in the morning.
So Diddy's case or trial has finally started. They're picking out the jurors and stuff. Do you guys feel like Diddy will be freed, or you feel me, he's cooked? I've been reading a lot of comments. A lot of people have been saying that Diddy's cooked. You feel me? I don't even know how I necessarily feel about Diddy. Because, like, at first, everyone wanted him locked up. Then it's like, people kind of feel bad for him now. Because, I'm not gonna lie, the stuff he did to Cassie is 100% wrong. What he did to Cassie is 1,000% wrong. And people would never agree with it. But, like, if you want to call it for what it is, Diddy was a freak. Okay, if people underage are involved, lock him up, throw him under the jail. But if people underage aren't involved, bro, Diddy is a freak, bro. Like his lawyer said, he's a swinger, bro. Like you feel me? He might want to watch his wife get piped out. He might, you don't know what did he want to watch. He wants to watch everything. He's a freaky man. He's a freak. That's why they're called freak offs. Get all the freaks together. What do you think's gonna happen? Baby oil with stuff in it that when it goes into your skin, you're paralyzed. Like, yes, that's what happens at the freak off. There's obviously two parties to a Diddy party. There's the party, and then there's the party party. Have you ever been invited to the party party before? Probably not. But hey, man, let me know how you guys feel about Diddy. Do you want him locked up or do you want him free? Do you feel bad for Diddy? Even if Diddy gets freed, I think his career is done. No one's ever gonna work with him again. No brand's gonna work with him. You feel me? He's still gonna make money off. He probably has real estate like tenants and stuff, and probably like investments that we don't know about. So he's probably still gonna make money, but he's not gonna be making the same money as before. Like he's probably definitely at a billionaire status now. But hey, man, it's your boy Big X News. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'm out.